OGs. The New OGs is a State Madison Entertainment production and is brought to you by Sun Life Solar. Sun Life is helping homeowners in Illinois take advantage of a program that lets them get solar power at no cost. If you're a single-family homeowner in the state of Illinois, you can lower your electric bill, raise the value of your home, and do something good for the environment without paying a single dollar out of your pocket to do so. No cost.
Did you say no money out of pocket, Bobby?
No money out of pocket. You can actually get solar panels without putting any money out to even get the solar panels. In fact, Sun Life can only work with you if they can save you money. Sun Life is a sun-powered dealer. That's an American panel maker with over 30 years of solar experience. And Sun Life even has a referral program that pays out as much as $500 per referral. So head over to www.illinoissolar.today and get in contact for a free consultation or to refer someone you know. We are also brought to you by People of Comedy. That is the network that we are on right now. Shout out to James Webb, who is in the booth. Once again, reminding you to follow People of Comedy. They are on Twitch. They're on YouTube. They're on all the places you listen to your podcast. If you seek them out, you will find all the podcasts they have. If you go to their page, you'll actually see them out at protests. You can see video from the protests that are still going on 20 plus days in. You can see that these are peaceful protests still, so please go check those out. You'll find places that you can search for support through their page. You can find people to follow through their page, like Dwayne Murphy, aka Don Lime, who's out there killing it.
Danny Limes.
But Danny Lime, that's it, Danny Limes. Anyway, follow People of Comedy. They're a great network. They are the podcast network in Chicago. If you're following anything going on with Chicago comedy. So anyway, what's going on, everybody? How are we doing? Welcome to the show. We're back here again. It's another Friday. It has been a week. I think if you find this one, we're calling this one "If We Don't Get It." There's been a lot of protest march stuff involved in titles of things I want to give to things. So if we don't get it is kind of where I feel right now, right?
Shut it down, baby.
That's right. So we're kind of at that point. X, how you doing, man?
I'm struggling right now. I'll be with my camera situation got me looking janky.
You look fine.
I want so bad for this to be a bit.
I'm okay now. I think I'm okay now. I was trying to get my shit framed up a little bit better. It wasn't really working out for me.
Right.
So,
right.
You know, I'm not Spike Lee yet with the camera, so
you're getting there, man. Well, you got step one. You got the equipment. You know, it's
yeah. That's what's up. That's what's up. I appreciate the positive reinforcement.
It's a process.
Because
I mean, you make it through the episode.
I am just high enough to cry right now. So That's how high I am. I could cry. So thank you for the positive reinforcement.
I believe in you. You're coming in loud and clear. I see you. You know what I mean? Like the angle is better than it's been before. You know, like you're getting it done. There are times when it looked like you were, and this is not even a size-based thing. It's just an angle-based thing where it looked like at any moment you could just swallow the camera, and now you look like you're actually on camera as opposed to. Like it looked like sometimes it looked before like you had knocked the camera out and you were standing above it. Like, what the fuck are you now, punk? And at least now you're a little more framed up in the camera, right? So it's.
I also screwed up. I just noticed something looking at the shot. I also just forgot. I was talking to our guest on the show today for so long earlier. I was supposed to change my shirt. I'm wearing a blue shirt with a blue background. That's not good. That's not good broadcasting. That's poor. I'm seeing this on the shot. And also, I just want to point out the fact nobody else in the pre-production, the 15 minutes we were all on video together, thought to mention it either. I just wanted to put that out there to the world.
Well, unfortunately, I'm colorblind, so the fact that
I'm
going to take a pass on that one as a colorblind person because to me, those don't look like the same color, and neither of them look like blue. So.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
It looks like a black shirt with a gray background, but that's me.
Hey, what if one day we find out that we weren't supposed to see colors, and that's why you're so weird? Because you're
I mean, they've pretty much figured out why color blindness happens. They even have contacts for it now. You can get surgery, I believe, for it. There's guys that want to be.
Oh, word! I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's stories I've been told by like eye doctors that pilots have come to them, like people that want to be pilots have come to them who are colorblind. Because you can't fly like in the Air Force if you're you can't fly in the Air Force if you're colorblind, which means
I feel like
I
being able to tell the
the
difference between the color of light seems like that's a really important thing.
Listen, man, there's certain things I'm just like, yeah, I'm good with not doing that forever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to. If I'm ever flying a plane, we've done fucked up. You know what I mean? Like we're in a bad spot. And
why do we have humans flying planes at all anymore?
I think if you give
why isn't it 100% drone army?
I think you give.
I did that by accident.
Welcome, Rob Hines.
Hey.
Surprise.
Hey, man, I'm very sorry. I am also technologically challenged. And this is what's so funny. After I watch X say, I need to get framed up, I'm like, well, let me turn on some lights and frame myself up. And before I could get to it, I'm just on and shit. I don't know what I pressed to be here, but here I am and shit. If you want me to leave, I'll walk away.
No. You might as well stick around, man. We're just
all up too.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Hines is joining us. He's gonna show his ass on camera real quick.
Yeah.
Hey,
What's that? Bill Hicks ruler stand up. If something happened, just go with it. Don't go back to the fucking material.
You're on stage, man. You're on stage, man. Welcome, Rob Hines, to the show.
Thank you.
How you doing, baby?
I'm doing pretty well, man. For those of you who are not aware, I just got a kidney transplant on February the 20th.
Yeah.
And I will
right
be
in time.
Yes, and I will be in Chicago like the 2nd or 3rd week of July. I don't know exactly what my schedule is. I'm very irresponsible, and I will point that out right now.
Hey, I'm glad that you said this because I have not. Other than the people that I knew, I haven't specifically said like what surgery you had.
Yeah.
But I have been wanting to say like the miracle of coincidence of I believe you were literally pulling in the surgery when my plane landed. Like you had messaged me like an hour before, hey, I'm going to the hospital to get a kidney, but I was on the plane, so that shit didn't pop up until I landed like an hour later. Yeah. And I looked at the time and I was like, this motherfucker's in surgery.
Yeah, I was that's right. I was at Mardi Gras. I was out there being patient zero with the corona, hitting every spot. Every spot that's been live, I've been there, man. What's hot?
Hey, man, I need to give Dr. Fauci your information. Like, I ain't no snitch, but you might have fucked up the whole East Coast, nigga.
Oh, my God. No, he didn't say I ain't no snitch, but that's literally
I ain't no snitch, but I'm about to call Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx personally and have them. I'm going to have them call Gates and Soros and the whole 5G crew.
Fauci ain't the police.
He might as well be. He working for him. You know?
Oh, man. Aren't we all? Oh, shit, man. Happy Juneteenth. Speaking of things invented by the people in charge.
Wow, Bobby. Just wow. That's, you know.
Listen, man, if I got to hear one more white person tell me that Lincoln freed the slaves, like,
hey, man,
we freed ourselves,
it is
dog.
insane to me. I said it last week, but I'm going to keep saying it because I think we get new people every day. Hey, new people, welcome to the podcast. It is insane to me. If you're a white person, I don't give a fuck what article you read, how many books you read. I don't give a fuck what class you took in college. Your perspective on race relations is shit to mine because it's been my entire life.
Right. Yeah.
From the moment I had consciousness,
for me.
From the moment I had consciousness and knew who I was, race relations has been my experience dealing with that shit.
Yeah. Juneteenth is an old school holiday for us, I think. I know it is for me. Juneteenth is not new. I remember I was telling somebody earlier today, like, I remember my dad, when my sister and I would make noise in the other room, he would say, I don't want none of that Jeff Davis. So like I knew from an early age who Jefferson Davis from like 4 years old. I knew that Jefferson Davis was the leader of the Confederacy, and my dad was trying to put up with no shit. And so I was like, I got it. There's not going to be a child revolt today. I understand. That shit is going to be crushed mightily. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I was like, who the fuck is Jeff Davis? Like, and why is he significant?
Guess what? Ain't no statues of me in my daddy's house either. So, yeah, I mean, I would go into explain what Juneteenth is, but I'm sure every white person has done their homework by now, so I don't need to be
that Google button, use it.
Yeah,
the Google button is real. It's not a myth.
I need to be a primer for you.
It's a real thing.
I think what a lot of people really need to understand about the importance of the day is a couple of things. That one, it was not that long ago. This is great grandparent territory for most of us, or for a lot of us. Maybe 3 generations for a few of us, but this is like my parents, grandparents, right? Like that's not long ago. That's not very long ago,
Mexican American Louis C.K. said that's 2 70-year-old ladies back to back. That's not that long ago.
Right. Yeah. And I think the thing that a lot of people, like the core to recognizing the racist origin of this country is remembering that just because not only the fact that it took 2 years for it to get to everybody that we were supposed to be free, but like that did not create some automatic level up for us. Like we were not just like, oh, now we're instantly as smart, well-equipped, able to handle the economy, like giving them as much power and wealth. Like that idea that all of a sudden because we were freed, we were automatically at a similar, equal.
I'm gonna do a small bit of pushback. There was a brief moment where even I'm saying ignorant in that they weren't not schooled. They were not schooled. They were worked out in the fields and stuff. Those slaves had started building up shit so fast. The reason for the rise of the Klan and most of the Jim Crow laws was because we did start building our own communities almost immediately, outside of them, and that's doing those things.
I'm just saying that the acceptance as equal from white people was not like, we fucked up, y'all cool now. No, of course we were like all human beings, when given the opportunity, success is going to happen, right? Like that is a very humanistic trait. And for us, obviously, the willingness to be able to fight through another 150 years after release from forced servitude, slavery, to still be here and have the level of success that's attained is an amazing feat in and of itself. But the idea that because we were set free, white people are like, right, now we intellectually see you as equals and you see yourselves as equal in your DNA is not reality. There's centuries of subjugation built into the children's children that exist here that we are working to overcome, that sometimes produces Candace Owens.
And I want to say, not just built into us, built into white kids.
Right. Absolutely.
It's built into every fucking body. Like everybody knows that if you had a choice, if we was playing musical chairs of colors, the black chair would be the last chair anybody would want to sit in, because that's the motherfucker that's gonna catch the hell the most. I also want to say 2 things about Juneteenth that I usually don't really. I think I said it last year on our show when we talked about this shit. It makes me angry to celebrate that some of our ancestors had to work for 2 extra motherfucking years for these motherfuckers, and we celebrating 2 fucking free years of servitude, and so that sucks. However, we don't give enough props to the fact that those things
that sucks.
Yeah. And
if
also,
it was so easy to get over,
just celebrated a few.
What's that?
I'll say Memorial Day, which we just celebrated a few weeks ago, was also created by African American black soldiers from the North and the South once fighting ended. The first Memorial Day was that. President found out about it, did it annually, and that's what we celebrate as Memorial Day. Like, we have been in this motherfucker from the beginning. We helped build this, but we built this bitch. And after all the mistreatment, we still love America, man. It's weird. It's a real abusive ass relationship, man.
Not just America. We love Jesus, which is insane to me. That shit is incredible. My parents fed me this bullshit. The people who I love the most, who taught me more than anything. What's wrong with you, dude? You got fleas or something? What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, it's a motherfucking fly in the goddamn garage, and he keeps flying across the screen. I'm sorry. I was trying to be cool, but I obviously did not pull that shit off.
I get it.
I thought he was Mr. Miyagi and some shit right quick. I thought he just fucking got him. Got him right here. I just fucking toss him out. What? Just fucking.
I got so many different emotions, and I cannot fit it all in the time allotted. However, I will say this. The first thought that I had was never underestimate the power of a 400-year head start. You understand what I'm saying? And in my mind, it's just amazing to me that these people will still act as if they don't know it, or even if they don't know it. Okay, let me back up a minute. I realize as a black man, I got shit I could do that white folks can't do. Right? I do. One of them is the way my woman relates to me is different than the way theirs do, because primarily my woman realizes how fucked up shit is for her, so she knows it's fucked up for me. I recognize that, right? And I don't abuse it, because I know if I ask a black woman to do some shit, it's gonna get done. So if I don't really need it, I'm not gonna fuck with her, right? I'm just gonna do it myself.
You gotta wait till you really need some shit done.
Right.
Let me hold off putting a burden on you until it really, because of the burden I know you carry already.
Absolutely, and that's love, right? That to me, that's a deep amount of thought. No, but here's the thing: I realize it. These motherfuckers live in this country every day, and you can't realize your privilege. You are full of shit,
dude. You know what?
These motherfuckers. Go ahead.
You know what my response to all these motherfuckers is when they say, I don't have any privilege, I don't know, I had to work my ass off, blah, blah, blah. I was like, whoa. Your privilege does not get you to not have to compete against other white motherfuckers. You had to compete against them. That's who you had to work against. Your privilege was that you didn't have to compete against me too, motherfucker. Right. That's the difference. I didn't have a seat at the table too. You only had to go against motherfuckers that look like you. And that shit is hard. I admit it. But imagine how much harder it would be if I could get a spot, if my Hispanic brothers could get a spot. If you know what I'm saying, if
and the real issue is that the wealthy are taking too fucking much pie. That is the issue. And they use these dumbass white folks as little fences to put in front of them to protect them from what they truly know is going on. And until motherfuckers start waking up and start listening to shit, we're going to stay like this.
I started watching a YouTube documentary, and I don't even remember the name, and it's probably better that I don't, but I was watching this YouTube documentary that came out in like 2011. This was like right around Occupy movement time. That was covering the fact how all these companies, all these like pharma companies and shit like that, avoid paying their taxes in this country. And like we talk about it on a larger scale then, but this was 9-10 years ago. These companies that were setting up other companies in Ireland that were trying to send profits back through Bermuda, that was just like all to avoid paying money based off of profits they made off of the people here. While they work to keep wages low, while they work to keep an argument up between people because they're not willing to like bridge racial gaps to make it actually better, because that's the way that they keep that machine going. But I feel like we're closer than ever to a point where the wheel breaks.
Yeah, and specifically, you're talking about pharmaceutical companies. Not only are they hiding hiding in shelters offshore, but they're not just taking the money of the American people, but they are getting them addicted to fucking drugs knowingly and hiding it. And they did that shit like, hey, white America, you might think that the alt-right or the right, whatever Fox News shit you listen to, whatever, you might think that there's some kind of unity there. But if nothing shows you that there's really no unity there, they sold that shit to y'all. Like the opioid addiction was directly shot at poor white people. That shit,
even racism is embodied in that, because when we would go in and say we was hurting, they'd be like, "No, you don't need shit. You be all right."
Yeah,
and they were giving that.
We were still getting fucked over. I'm just trying to say. We always getting fucked over. What I'm trying to tell anybody who might be on the opposing side and just watching this so they can be angrily tweet us later or text a message later, I want you to think about the fact that the same motherfuckers we fighting poisoned you.
Right.
Because it was an untapped market. So they just said, fuck it. And they start poisoning you knowingly. Like it wasn't an accident. Like it wasn't they didn't know the damage that was happening. They only did they know the damage that was happening. They hit it and then start sending you motherfuckers more shit.
Right. Yeah.
Like they knew you was fucking strung out, and they was like, get them motherfuckers more.
The thing I try and explain to white people who don't have money, because the people that don't have money that always try to deny white privilege, they always make it an economic thing. And I try to explain to them that, like, because we have been systematically kept in this monetary section of the American economy, poor white people, you are just actually collateral damage to them, right? Like, the thing that happens where some guy who doesn't have a lot of money but has 2 AR-15s shows up somewhere, that is an accomplishment for them on the whole, because that dude ain't got no money, and instead of him going, hey, listen, brother, I'm going to help you get your rights because that will help us turn this system around, he is maintaining this dumb economic system because he believes that someday if he comes up with a great idea, he too could be a billionaire who could also pay to make sure that the laws always worked in his favor. And
he's one scratcher away, Bobby. Bobby, he one scratcher away.
And he will show up with his gun to defend that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, when I see the people that protested all that mask wearing and all the shutdown and shit, it's all these people that make just more than the average salary for a 9-to-5 worker that own their own business, who are absolutely reliant on not having to go back to work by a paycheck or two. Like, the difference between them being a business owner and being an employee is like 4 bad months.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that push the hardest. And those people, they care the most about the most freedoms because the wealthy have made them feel like they are so much better just by owning a small little business that they will fight for everything to maintain that status so they can tell somebody that they are not part of the worker class.
I think that.
And here's the thing. There is the one argument that they will say back to this, and this is, every now and then I speak on behalf of capitalism because I don't believe in as much as you do of just totally getting rid of it.
Shit.
I believe in a hybrid, but capitalism. The capitalism. The idea is if you have that little small business, you might hit a window where your little small business has a moment. And like right now, there's a motherfucker that sells disinfectant that probably bought a boat that didn't have a boat before. He probably bought a boat because this COVID shit just made him a couple $1 million.
Here's the thing, guys. Let me just okay. There
the ability to subjugate based off of being lucky is not appropriate.
Right.
No, I don't. Yeah. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying that's what makes the dream keep going. That's what helps the dream keep going.
High for that. This is why taxes are high, though, because if you can recognize the fact that someone becomes a boat-owning billionaire based off of an accidental pandemic, then you have to admit that the tax that person pays for that fortune is worth it for the betterment of a society who doesn't get to have that lucky ball bounce their way.
I agree. I don't disagree with that at all. I 100% agree with you.
Rob?
Okay, what I see you doing is the math. Okay, so but the actual answer is a little further back than you are, right? I'm not saying that anything you're saying isn't true, but you're talking about the symptoms and not the cause.
I agree.
Ultimately, all this shit has to do with the amount of hate that they have in their souls that is openly out and directed towards people who look like us. And for me, I could care less about all this other shit. I want that ugliness and that disease to stop. And there's no way of stopping it, right?
Yeah.
It just is.
I disagree with that. I think we can fuck them out of existence. I think we really can.
So we're gonna wait another fucking 400 years, I guess, is what you say.
I don't know if it's gonna take that long. I don't know if it's gonna take that long. All we need is we need to make like maybe 2 or 3 more Black Panther movies a little faster together. Maybe have a few more shirts, like a couple, like bring Michael B. Jordan back, have his shirt off a lot. That's gonna help a whole bunch of brothers start banging. Had a gorilla nigga, that's gonna help me. The gorilla cat, he come back, that's gonna help me and Dave Hellum get laid a lot. And you know what I'm saying, like, and then we can fuck them up. I truly believe that. I believe that's why.
Rob, I hear you. I hear you, man.
Wait, let me just fuck with him on that. It's a time of year for big husky motherfuckers anyway. You dig what I'm saying? So you ain't got to add shit else to the equation. Just keep being black and big, and in November you gonna get more pussy than the law allows.
I'm gonna be honest. The way all these boogaloo people, I started jogging, man. I'm trying to be in shape. I'm not trying to be.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be not in good shape when some shit goes down. I got myself a couch to 5K program, and I am working that motherfucker.
Hey man. I'm getting serious about my shit. I'm cleaning up my diet. I'm eating like when I eat meat, it's mostly chicken breast or turkey, ground, stuff like that. I haven't been eating any red meat and stuff like that. I also did a quick study. Most people do this. A lot of people had this question between CD, like a record cover or something like that, glass, mirror, and I found out what was the best for your part of my fitness goal is doing cocaine, and it's off of doing it off of a laptop. If you have like a metallic cover laptop, that's the best. That is the best way to do cocaine. Here's why. It's not a non-porous surface, so it makes the lines very easy to do, and there's no residue.
It's not going to.
There's no residue.
You can totally wipe it down pretty easily.
Yeah. It doesn't get the fingerprints and stuff like glass or mirror would. That's like my hot tip. That's part of my new diet regimen. Part of my new diet regimen is doing a little cocaine every time I want to eat.
And it seems like it's working for you.
Framed it as a helpful tip of the day, a life sheet, as it were.
I'm trying to help people. We're in the middle of a pandemic, man. You got to do everything you can do.
You're getting it done.
And I tell you what else, man. This is what aggravates me the most, is that these people will still follow Donald Trump and try to find reason that they do it. Like, can tell me anything.
What do you think about that, Rob? Because he came out and he, obviously he set the date for this thing that's going on tomorrow, originally on Juneteenth, which is what sparked this, like, white people rushing to learn what Juneteenth is essentially what happened. Is right? Like, white people were just like, wait, that's a problem? We didn't know. Like the date got set, and then Black Twitter
with their notebooks scratching out shit.
Black Twitter went off, and then like Seth Rogen,
we were
and
playing volleyball.
Post Malone called up a few people, and they was like, "Uh-oh."
Oh my God!
We got the vegan sliders. We got kids
DMs around. You know what I mean? Like all the black husbands
were coming.
All the black husbands in Hollywood with white wives sent him a little private message like, "Dear, send this out to the whole squad." And so they changed the date. But then Trump gave an interview the other day where he said that nobody had heard of it, and he has now made it more famous than ever. Who was he
Hey,
talking to? Who was the nobody had ever heard of it that he was talking to?
Hey,
You know who it was? Shit, the motherfuckers that voted for this bitch. See, here's the thing. I take offense to the whole statement, but particularly he made it famous. No, you made it necessary, bitch. You didn't make it famous. You made it the reason why we had to do it. And in addition to that, man, you know, you putting yourself above all of the millions of black people who died, and then an extra 2 years you stole of their lives who did survive. You know what I'm saying? And so to me, I'm like, dude, this motherfucker has no humility at all. Like, when a motherfucker
He wants to take credit for elevating.
Huh?
He wants to take credit for elevating the remembrance of the freedom of the slaves as like some type of a like, look at me, black people.
Right. I've done the slaves a favor, man. Fuck you. I don't want, just check me out.
Mean, it's an expectation of stupidity, right? Like, is that someone who just thinks that we're that dumb, or is he literally just feeding his white base into believe? Because like, I have white people who come and be like, no, look what he did. He did this great thing, and I'm like,
he's trying to
no, that's not a great thing. Stop letting Candace Owens tell you that that's a great thing.
Right. What else, Stanky Booty Self? Dave Chappelle is brilliant. Hey, real quick, let me put this out here. I want everybody to hear this about the two of you. Last year I did your podcast in July. When you got through talking to me, I started thinking maybe I don't suck. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's something about me that's redeemable, right? You know, because as a comic, you have a degree of insecurity that most people will never understand. Right. And so all this time, I'm not paying attention to anybody around me because I'm thinking they just like me because they felt like I was cool or something, right? And people are telling me, dude, you are not a regular comedian, man. You are this, you are that, and you should be doing more than you're doing. And all this time, I'm just happy to be busy. And then finally, when I left the set from sitting with y'all, I started thinking like, wait a minute, maybe I am the shit. Maybe there is something to all this shit. Maybe it's something that I should be doing that I'm not doing, right? And so from that moment to now, man, my career has exploded. Like, I'm working on a TV show. I can't really talk about it, but I'm working on it. And I got all type of other shit going on. I got another podcast and be doing another 10 minutes. I'm saying I'm staying busy from the crib like I have never been before. Like, and so what I'm gonna say, and this is what I want every black person or any other type of person who is insecure, but particularly black people, because I don't want to take the spotlight off of us. It's finally here. Right. I don't want to share it with nobody. Right? So I'm gonna say this to all of the black people. I'm not gonna feel guilty about saying it. Do not be afraid to recognize how extraordinary you are. Even if you're the worst motherfucking bum on the street, you are better than any bum any of these other people could be. You understand? You have made it through a system that hates you and been chewing you up and spitting you out for 400 fucking years, yet we are still here. Yep. So I'm saying I appreciate you two niggas, and I love the both of you, and from this point forward, I'm never going to let these motherfuckers make me take less than I deserve. Fuck.
That's amazing.
Hey.
That's amazing.
I'm so glad that we got that on film because that's going to be the ad for my weed sales. Because I got robbed real high right before that show. And that nigga got excited after that. And I believe it was my weed. So anybody's ever smoked weed with me, they know what I'm talking about.
We know what's going on.
We was high as hell, wasn't we? I was like,
yeah. So that's gonna be the ad. I'm gonna cut. James, chop that up for me, and I'm gonna make that a quick. That's gonna be the act when I get my brand from the state.
I want to talk about this before we let you go, Rob. There have been some things that different companies have done to try and make some moves. Aunt Jemima is getting rid of Aunt Jemima on the bottle. Uncle Ben has said they're going to look to reimagine I mean, how are your thoughts?
They're going to get a nigga last name? They're going to get Benjamin Jenkins?
Uncle Ben Washington. You know what I'm saying? Uncle Ben Jefferson. Listen, dig what, okay, for me,
what if he comes back as like Ben X and he's like,
oh shit,
rice and beans go good together, nigga, and it's just like
he got rice in his hand and it's coming out the sides of his fist, like yes. Listen, For me,
The only thing white about me is this race.
for me, it's just another distraction, right?
Yeah.
We're
Sure.
not gonna pay you no more. We're not gonna
Sure.
make you more secure. We're not gonna make sure your children don't have to feel the way you feel. But we
Right.
will take this nigga off this box. You know what I'm saying? It just don't mean shit to me. I don't give a
Yeah.
fuck what the bitch look like on the box now. What I give a fuck is what the money that when you buy the box, why is not black people getting some of that money, or whoever that woman is, their heirs not getting paid.
Yeah.
So it don't really mean shit to me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I look at it like reparations come in all forms. And so, like, sure, like, it's weird because in one way you're like, well, we want representation. We want to be your model. We want to be your spokesperson. So, like, it's like, okay, well, are you going to replace her with, like, another, like, a black person that we know that we can, like, be like, oh, you're the representative of this company.
Halle
or
Berry
something.
pancakes.
Like, are you gonna put some, or like, are you gonna, like, I've seen a lot of memes that are like Aunt Karen, and it's like, no, I don't want you to replace her with a white lady for sure. Like, I don't want less black people being able to be on there. But the real thing though is like, okay, fine, I'll take that. You're gonna reimagine it or do better. That's cool. But also, like, how many black people are going to be on your boards now? How many black managers are you hiring? How many black people are you, like, how many black people are on your board of directors? How many black people are given stock in your company off of the years that you've profited off of black image? What are you doing to ensure that your company is actually going to be a diverse company of different thought and different principles, and not just you're going to change what a box looks like? Right.
That's a hashtag we got to get going. Is basically, if you, it's like, this is why you need black people in the room. That's a long ass hashtag, but that's why
Well,
you need black people in the room. Like, if you had black people in the room, you would have figured out a long time ago that old black lady was not a good fucking mascot. Like, you would like that shit. If that's a fucking person and it's a caricature and it's bullshit. Like, if you had black people in the room, you wouldn't do shit like what is it, the fucking Snapchat. Snapchat had the fucking video where you smile to break the chains for fucking Juneteenth.
Yeah, for
like
Juneteenth,
literally, you
Snapchat,
smile and the
remove the
chains
filter.
would break behind you when you smile.
It's
With a
gone
red,
now,
black,
but
and green flag behind you.
Yeah, it's gone now, but Snapchat had a filter up for a little while where there were
know
chains. It was for Juneteenth, and if you smiled, the chains would break.
You know how that doesn't happen? You know how your company doesn't get embarrassed? You give a black person power to say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, give a black person the power to design that for you. If you're going to do something to reach out to the black community, have a black fucking engineer.
That's the reason why I don't think it's ever going to happen, because then they got to pay you. This whole thing.
Here's the thing. Smart business people should always have people who tell them when they're about to fuck up. Like the Wizard of Omaha, Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett has like people who disagree with him on his board. Like, one of the great stories about Walmart, Sam Walton, was he hired a dude who ran a competing store because he told him that his store was a piece of shit and that it wouldn't be able to compete with his. And he was right, and he hired the dude. Like having people that tell you where you're wrong helps you out. And if you had a diverse group of people, you would know, like, where to not. Because even having, like, you don't have to have one of everybody. It's not the fucking Village People, but it'd be nice. But if you had at least enough diversity, because as a black person, if I saw them doing something like that with a Hispanic caricature or a Native American caricature, because of my experience, I can see that and know, hey, that's probably not okay. We maybe want to check with somebody from that community to find out if that's a good look. And I believe people of other cultures probably could too if there was more diversity.
They just gonna change the number of motherfuckers they sell the shit to. They'll just stop before they let that shit go. They'll sell it to a different motherfucker.
The thing that happens is once you create diversity in the room, obviously if you have a board of 12 seats, you're not going to be able to get every single potential version of every culture recognized. But what happens when you have diversity in the room is that the that diversity creates the thought of we should go find out what this group that may not be here right now actually thinks of a thing we're going to do, as opposed to a group that is singular in its makeup, deciding that they know what's best for every group, right? Like once you start adding diversity, even if you don't happen to have, say, an Asian person on your board of directors, if you have a couple black people and maybe a Hispanic cat and women and maybe a transgender dude or something like that, like the odds that that group will go, well, if we're trying to reach out to this other segment, we should go ask them before they just decide for them. The odds of that happening are a lot higher if you have diversity in there, because that's what all those people would be thinking if it was them after years of that, right? Like the recognition of that should become greater.
I want to give a shout out to, I might have shouted him out last week, I will shout him out again, comedian Tristan Smith. Shout out Tristan Smith.
Tristan loves shout outs.
He said some shit. He tweeted the other day that was dope. He said, I feel like white people are genuinely surprised that they can't do diversity by themselves. and that's the realest shit, man. Like, he tweeted that shit, and I was like, oh my God, that is so real, because I really feel like that's what it is. Like, we don't need their help. We'll figure this shit out.
I got to jump off in a minute because I got another podcast, and I got to get re-high for that podcast.
Of course, man. Where can people catch you?
Man, the whole...
Where people can find you?
Where can people find you? What's your social media
My website is www.robertlhines.com, and all my social media shit is there because we already discussed my being, irresponsible.
Right.
Before I step, I just want to say this real quick, man. The one thing I want you guys to never forget, and I get what you're doing now, you're trying to break it, but it's still a fucking system. So for the most part, it doesn't require a lot of participation from a lot of people because it's a system. Right. And so what I'm saying, what I hear you trying to do is break it down. And that's what's going to have to happen. But I don't think it's going to have to happen piece by piece. It's going to have to be exploded and rebuilt. You know what I'm saying?
That's, I think, the thing that a lot of people don't want to deal with. You know what I mean? The possibility that the entirety of it may be the problem, right? Because, one, the idea of facing the reality that, this was maybe not the most awesome idea that we'd all been led to believe. That's a hard thing. That's also been drilled into us, right? Greatest country on the earth, never a better program, never a better economic system. You go from nothing to wealthy, and if I made it, you can make it out. But I told somebody the other day, that's like when Bruce Wayne was crawling out of that pit in The Dark Knight Rises. It's like, well, it's so hard to get out of that pit. Only one other motherfucker even made it out, right? That's like getting out of that pit and then looking down and being like, why can't y'all do it? You know how hard that
pit is? You started out at the top of the motherfucker.
Right. Hey, before you go, Rob, I want you to hear this because I want to. You gotta go. No, I don't want to feel like I'm talking behind his back. I just want to say, as a person who is not quite as left as you and Rob are as far as tearing down the system, that's one of the places we have some of our disagreements. All I say is my point of view is, have you ever done a rehab on your house, man? That shit's a nightmare. And but I've done that before with a two flat, man. I had to fucking put that. It was a nightmare. So rebuild just sounds like a big headache. But yeah, you're right. It probably does need to happen.
I mean, it's tough.
Can you go piece by piece?
Because here's the thing. It's like, yeah, man.
Just take back Texas and Georgia.
I don't want to give up PlayStation 6 either, right? Like, of course, sure, but it may take us skipping out on all those things that we were looking forward to, that we may not have even gotten to participate in. You know what I mean? Like, I
think the system can be broken and we can still get that. Because what you're implying is, because here's the thing about, one of the things about technology is, and what companies have kind of fooled us into believing is that they have some kind of hold on shit. But there's enough technology going on right now that if they literally shut down the internet, we got enough tech, all of us have enough tech in our house that a pirate's network, a pirate's cell phone network could go up like that.
At this point, somebody would have to come over here and show me how to do that, though. Man,
you have to
show me the box or something. I gotta,
What I'm saying is, What I'm saying is we have the ability to communicate and
If that happens, I'm going rogue. I'm stealing a boat and I'm going to live on the ocean. I'm going to learn how
what
to
I'm saying is
fish.
technology is at a place where
You'll never see me on land
if they
again.
cut us off, they cut themselves off because they need our data. Their data feeds their shit.
Yeah, I definitely go rogue then.
And so if they cut us off, they cut themselves off. So they can't cut us off completely. If we're not being able to cut us off completely, we can always circumvent the motherfuckers. Like we can always just keep fighting. I think. I don't know.
There's been some crazy Supreme Court rulings this week, things that we did not expect. Did you expect these to be the rulings that came down this week?
I am not trying to be like, I always saw this shit coming. That is not at all.
Sure.
But we'll go on the record. I will have to go back and look myself to figure out, but we have talked about Judge Roberts on here before, and I've said something about Judge Roberts that he sticks by the law. Like before Trump came around, he was the dude that saved Obamacare when the Republicans tried to get rid of it when Obama was still in office. Like Roberts sided with Obama then. He has long been a person that he cares about what history says about him. He does not want to be tarnished by being tied to Trump right now. And if there's a place where he can find a legal way to make a stand to separate himself from Trump, he will. And so that's the only reason why I'm suggesting that I am not as shocked as many people have been by that.
So that makes sense for DACA, but I think for the LGBTQ plus discrimination rights situation, for it to finish 6-3 and have Neil Gorsuch also be on the favorable side, I thought that was
huge.
I mean,
that was a shock.
It signals that Gorsuch is not necessarily, he may be to the right of Roberts, but in a moment of like recognizing the way that a law should work, if we're buying into discrimination laws, we can't exclude a specific subset of a group out of that discrimination law, and I think the quote that he had
just because you think they're icky.
Yeah, and he says, I think the quote he had was, "Sex plays a necessary and undisguisable role in that decision, exactly what Title VII forbids." So, it's a by the book decision, but sometimes you got to take a positive where you can take it.
Well, see, here's the thing, because people who are, I am not talking about the conservative hierarchy, although some of the conservative hierarchy may be included in this, but I feel like people with high IQs are not conservative unless they're billionaires. Okay? Because just here's why I'm suggesting this. What you were just talking about. If you just look, I'm sorry, I just lost myself. I got high. I'm sorry.
I don't know where you were going with that, because we were talking about LGBT rights, and all of a sudden
we were talking about they forget when they make the judges. What they forget about their conservative judges. They picked actual conservative judges. Conservative judges actually read the law and stick to the law, and they don't. And they aren't about ideology as much as they are about the law sometimes. If they're actual conservatives, and some of those dudes, Gorsuch is an actual conservative. Roberts is an actual conservative. He actually believes in conservatism, so he's not on the Trump bandwagon. He's not on the thing of just win at any cost. He cares about the Constitution and America and like what the letter of the law says. So again, Gorsuch was a surprise. 6-3 was a surprise. I do want to make clear that I agree with everybody about that. But their rationale for it actually makes sense, because if you look at their rationale from a conservative standpoint, Thomas and Kavanaugh don't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, Kavanaugh has not proven to be anything but someone who is there to do the bidding of the administration who put him there. I mean, there's nothing about him. And Thomas has only grown more conservative in his time there. He's honestly one of the most conservative judges on that bench right now. So
I'm gonna wager that Donald Trump pardons Brett Kavanaugh before he leaves office.
I mean, Kavanaugh would have to be in for something.
I think he can pardon. I think you. I'm not 100% sure about
pardon
this.
you for the future.
Yes, I pardon you for anything involving this particular thing. Blah blah blah. You know, because the president doesn't need the only thing.
I think that would really throw Kavanaugh under the bus to say, "I pardon you just in case someday they decide to try you."
Yes, because the only thing that you can't do with a pardon, like it's totally the president's discretion. The only thing that can't happen is somebody can't directly hand him money. Like there can't be a open quid pro quo. As long as there's no visible quid pro quo, he doesn't need any other excuse. He can pardon any fucking body he wants, even somebody who hasn't been charged yet.
I don't know about that last sentence you just said.
Because here's why: he can say he can pardon them for activities in coordination to this, which would be his confirmation hearings. Because they haven't
been accused of anything though. So like you can't. What is he? What would he pardon? Just in case you get accused.
There's a legal term in Latin. It's post something. It's not post hoc, but it's post something that the thing is being done in.
It's Post Malone. Post Malone.
Who is? Everything about him says I should like him.
But you don't, do you? Oh shit! Hang on, we lost connection, everybody.
I look like that singing love songs. It blows my mind. But nothing funny. We're not doing anything funny. Is that what you said?
For me at all. Didn't do a single thing.
I was like, yes, this is not a funny moment. Hey, if you tuned out, we're gonna get funny right now. What's up next, Bobby?
Yeah, I was wondering what happened. Oh man, you started getting this whole conservative.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, everybody. Everybody, if you watch the show, you know that the weed is 50-50. Okay, it gives you some of the magic. It gives you some of the best scenes, but also every now and then I short circuit mid conversation. And that's just how it goes.
It's great. There's at least one good short circuit every episode, and it is always great when it rolls in because it's usually
yeah. You know, you was laughing earlier, motherfucker. The same weed.
What are we talking about?
You know, take a little bit, give a little bit.
What are we talking about? Like I was in the middle of talking about like DACA and shit like that, like how great it was. And this man was just like eat, and just fucking spazzed.
I was doing that. Oh, I don't even remember that. Wow. I'm gonna have to watch this show later.
Shit,
okay.
So you guys, Webb, you're in the middle of Chicago right now. You're out there dealing with Lori Lightfoot, who's the mayor of Chicago.
Unfortunately.
When she was becoming the mayor, it was a really big deal because this was a black woman, quote unquote progressive lesbian married mayor. And people were super excited about that. But I saw this tweet the other day, and I thought it was interesting to bring up. This was her previous week up until Thursday. She blocked the removal of police from public schools, which is a $33 million contract for the police. She refused to make Juneteenth a holiday because Chicago's budget doesn't have the cash. Although she has raised the police budget by 7% for 2020. So, no cash for celebrating our final emancipation. Right, yeah. Refused to take down Columbus statues and keeps it Columbus Day instead of Indigenous Peoples Day. She had a chance in February to do that, and she decided not to. And she shut down the Commission for Reparations. It's a project that's long in the works by multiple aldermen that won formation unanimously in council.
She shut it down?
That was her past week. Those were all things she had done by Wednesday.
She's on somebody's payroll that we don't know about then, dude. That's unconscionable, man. That's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, great memes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the memes are
great.
You know. Great at memes.
I could see.
When she had locked it down, the memes were great.
I could see the police and the Columbus shit being the same group because
yeah, clearly.
Like in Chicago, there's two. There's three different types of police. They're either Italian, Irish, or black. That's it. That's all you get here. Every now and then a Puerto Rican, but mostly.
And while we're here keeping the school contract, we want to talk about these Columbus statues.
That's fucking absurd.
If an Indian person pulls you over in a CPD cruiser, take the fuck off. The motherfucker's a killer. He's gonna kill you. There's no way that's a real police officer in Chicago.
God.
We only come into, like I said, to fucking two kinds of white. Irish or Italian, maybe. Sometimes there's some Polish cops. There might be some Polish cops.
This would be the video they referenced. Oh, there's definitely Polish cops. I know a bunch of Polish cops.
There's Polish cops. But this is the video they referenced when I went on a race rant. Nah, man, this is demographics of Chicago. I'm not saying anything wrong. This is the demographics of Chicago. Every neighborhood has their own representation a little bit.
Every neighborhood that has every group that has a strong illegal presence in Chicago has. I don't mean this to be weird, but like if you have a strong illegal presence in Chicago, the only way you can maintain that is by also having police who are from that same group.
Yeah. Because
there is a working together that happens and being able to establish that. Like, it doesn't work like The Departed, but if you don't think that they send people to police academies to make sure that they're trained and shit as well, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like there's a way that you get away with crime, and that's by coordinating with those people in those organizations. So, that's
Carol Mosley Braun used to be plugged in with the Gangster Disciples, and a lot of the people that she was plugged into went to jail for long federal terms. You never heard about Carol Mosley Braun in any kind of controversy, huh?
She was all good.
That might be some Departed shit going on. I'm not saying she was, but somebody whoever her go-between was, because I doubt that she was on the corner with the folks.
I just want to use this opportunity once again to say that I voted for Toni Preckwinkle. So,
hey, Toni Preckwinkle used to be my alderman when I lived in Hyde Park, and I met her back in like 2002, I want to say, or something like that, 2003. And she was a very, very fine woman then, and I would have voted for her if I lived in the city when the mayoral election happened. She was always a great woman. I was disappointed she didn't win.
Well, that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to vote for Lori, is because Lori was upfront about being like super pro cop. So it was kind of like, do we want this authoritarian person running a corrupt city for
people
corruption,
got mad
or do
at
we want some change?
People got mad at Preckwinkle about the soda tax shit, and I think what's your face.
Boo-hoo.
Did you imagine if that was what we were dealing with right now? Was just some issues with a soda
be
pop
happier
tax?
if that was our biggest problem.
I said at the time, I had a short-lived, never aired podcast with Ed Towns. We did like 5 episodes.
Oh, I want to see
and
that.
We never aired it. So we got to bring that shit out. And but I remember going off about the shit at the time because I was angry because I was like, hey, stop drinking soda, motherfucker. If it's really that serious, like the motherfuckers act like Coca-Cola is your birthright. Yeah. Motherfucker, just stop. You probably should stop drinking pop anyway.
Look at how people are
or drink less.
Now. Look at how people are behaving now. They're acting crazy.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about. You know why I don't care about cigarette taxes being so high? Because I shouldn't smoke. I'm actually I'm happy that that's a deterrent. I'm happy that I look at the price of cigarettes in Chicago and think, fuck you, because I don't want to smoke anymore. And it's helped me a lot not being able to smoke. I mean, not smoking because I don't want to pay $15 for a pack.
Yeah. So that's where Chicago stands on police and on all their contracts and all their shit. Down in Atlanta, they've actually charged Officer Rolfe, the guy who shot Rayshard Brooks. They have charged him in that killing. That's going to be an interesting case. It's the argument that I tend to run into in this is that there are people that say he shouldn't have resisted, grabbed the taser, fought, ran, pointed at the cop, and it's not that I'm disagreeing with those concepts, right? Like I've been put in handcuffs before. I did not resist because they have a gun, and I know, I was too familiar with how those things turn. Like I didn't need to see a bunch of body cam video footage now to know how that shit worked when I was first being put in handcuffs at, I don't know, 9 or 10 or 11 years old. So like, I knew then that resisting was a dumbass idea, right? So like, it's always been a dumbass idea to me. And so for sure, that's bad. But the history of black men in cop possession, especially right now, is not favorable. In Georgia is definitely questionable as to what's going to happen with you. Hold on, you're dealing with a guy who you've already decided has had a little too much to drink, and the real truth is that there were options before this ever got to this point that would have skipped this. Like that, whenever I've had to deal with responsibility in a job situation, and we're trying to figure out where the fault is. You go back to where the basis of the fault is, and that is the fact that they didn't approach this like the idea they were trying to help somebody. They're approaching this like they were about to get a DUI arrest.
Yeah, and all I was gonna say, I sorry, I was trying to jump in when you were talking, but I was gonna say is once you talk about the more than natural and expected fear of being in cop custody right now in this environment. The concept of why this person is running is very clear to understand. Like, if any woman, we don't have, we're trying to get our woman viewers up. I'll be nicer. If women start watching the show. But no, like if a guy grabs a hold of you and tries to pull you in a room that you don't know, you're not just gonna go quietly. You're gonna scream. You're going to be because that's a scenario that you know that's probably not going to end well for you, right? Well, that's how I feel about police.
And that's even knowing the fact that most guys aren't going to grab women and drag them into a room, right? But if a guy, I mean, women, I know a lot of women where if a big guy walks behind them and puts their hands on them like that, the response is not awesome for anybody, right? Like, and understandably so. And whether anything's ever happened to them personally or not, because the understanding of what that could mean is bad enough. And that is a thing that, like, the approach is the problem. We live in a world where if you find a guy asleep in a parking lot, people are calling police, when the reality is you should call, like, this guy would have been no danger to anybody if somebody showed up and was like, hey, man, you're drunk. Let's get your car set to the side. They're going to tow it so you can't come back and get it. And you got to deal with the towing fee, but we're going to get you home and asleep for the night. Cool? I mean, how much easier does that day go?
To touch on that, there was, and to kind of touch on your earlier point of, like, there was a time before they were pulling out guns and, like, there were options before. So he actually told them, and this is on camera, like, call me an Uber, get me home, call me an Uber.
He goes, I can walk to my sister's house, she's just down the street.
There were so many options to and there's this incentive for cops to make arrests to get money, and that's like the core foundation of why police are so corrupt, because they want money.
And the statement is there's a responsibility concern, right? There's a statement, there's a responsibility concern. Like, well, if we let him walk home and he goes wandering in the street and gets hit, what happens? Well, you can put him in an Uber. Well, what if we put him in an Uber and he comes back and he gets his car? Well, tow his car.
Yeah, tow his car.
Call his sister.
Yeah.
Call his sister and make sure it's okay that if he comes there, it'll be fine. Have her come get him.
Also, another easy solution for everybody that you can implement right now. Even though I dislike the idea of the police force as a revenue source, let's say that has to continue because they just don't want to do it any other way. He can still give the motherfucker a ticket. He has his car. He has all of his information. Yeah. There doesn't have to be an arrest. There's no reason why there has to be an arrest.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, if he
Well, here's the thing. If you could drive him to the police station or his house, why don't you just drive the man to his house and go, listen, we're going to drop the DUI off with you here when we get to your house. We're going to make sure you're inside and safe. We're going to stay outside for 10 minutes and make sure you're home and inside and asleep.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. You'll pay the DUI.
Yeah.
How hard is that, right? So that's where they are with that. So he's been charged. In response to that, a bunch of Atlanta cops have called in sick, not shown up, not taking calls, which is kind
called it a white strike.
Yeah.
It was a white strike, Bobby.
Yeah, a white strike.
But which is weird.
But it's not about race.
Because it shouldn't be a blue strike, Bobby? Shouldn't it be a blue strike?
You would think.
But it wasn't. It was a white strike. That's weird.
Yeah.
Couldn't black cops weren't offended, huh?
By the way, those flags with those fucking blue lines on them is a disgrace if you're claiming you're some patriotic American. Those American flags where you fucking put a blue line in there, that is a desecration of the American flag, assholes. So get your own fucking flag.
That is not American flag. That is some other fucking country flag. That is not American flag. American flag does not have a fucking...
In Louisville, officers Mattingly, Hankinson, and Cosgrove have still not been arrested in the murder of Breonna Taylor. They still are free. Officer Hankinson has been fired. That is the only thing we've gotten. And we've gotten a law, which is weird that you can create a law, but yet the people that broke it have not been arrested for it.
The people who are the reason why you created it are not being prosecuted.
Right. So please light up Louisville's police department, their mayor's office, whomever, and continue to push that message that those officers need to be arrested and charged in that. The same way they've been arrested and charged in other places that, these things have happened. In the meantime, with some more crazy upbeat news, there's been a bunch of black people been found hung all over the country in the last week. There's probably been about 6, I think, at this point. Little hint, we don't hang ourselves from trees. I just want to just a side note. I'm only half black, but I'm going to tell you for sure 100% none of us if you ever catch me hanging from a tree, somebody did that shit for sure. Of the versions of suicide I would ever commit, that ain't one of them for sure.
I'm 47% black, but 100% sure. Dude,
that shit is not
there's
us,
actually a fucking Republican and I'm sorry I don't have the name, you gotta look it up yourself, that he said that black people were hanging themselves to start a race war.
Right. That ain't happening either. Let me tell you about what else ain't happening. We ain't doing that either.
We don't need more bodies for that. We don't need it. We don't need... If we were trying to start a race war, we'd start hanging white people.
Yeah.
It'd be a whole bunch of Karens swinging.
We would hang. We know what would happen if there were a bunch of white people found hung. You would definitely come find us, right? We're not.
We want to start a race war. If we were trying to start a race war, we'd hang y'all.
Right. Yeah. Because we know that would get you going. We know you would think that was us right away. You know you would. We know you wouldn't assume it was just white people hanging y'all. Yeah, we're not hanging ourselves to get you guys going.
I want to make clear, this is satire, this is comedy, this is satire. But you know what a brilliant thing would be? Is to hang a whole bunch of white people at once, because they would just be like, oh, this is a serial killer. No way is this a group of black people. This is obviously a serial killer.
Yeah, a whole bunch of kings are the same. That's serial killer white guy. That's not black people.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for some motherfucker named Doug. And,
let's talk about some real comedy shit before we get out of here. Chris D'Elia is a famous comedian. He is
a piece of shite.
It came out recently. Someone tweeted, I forget who the woman's name was, but she had tweeted about being groomed by Chris D'Elia when he was twice her age, and him contacting her when she was 16, which tumbled into, I think it was in response to him being a comedian who's essentially harassing a girl on the show You, and then it tumbled into a lot of women who are now women who were girls then. You'd say underage women, but those are girls, right? So a lot of girls who are
that's word for it,
right? If she's 15, she's not an underage woman; she's a girl.
Yeah, that's a girl. we have a whole name for it. They made a word for it for a reason.
Yeah, and so, I think it's silly to try and dice out exactly what happened. From what it appears to be, I don't know if anything was necessarily, I don't know if anything has claimed anything specifically illegal, other than the idea of a man who is well over the age of 21, 25, 30, being in contact with women who are not yet 18. I don't know if anybody's, not that they need, the differences between, is the guy a gross creep or is the guy doing something illegal? Technically,
it's very weird. It's very weird because
neither require my fandom.
Technically, there is this like, what do? Not be nice to young ladies? Exactly. That's exactly it. You don't do that because the vast majority of because most of the people who are trying to be like, man, there's not an underage girl that's not related to me that I want to have a conversation with about anything, unless she's trying to direct me how to get the fuck out of wherever I'm. Like she's like, over there, mister. Like, that's it. I don't want to have any one-on-one conversations with any young women because I don't want to be in that space where I look like I'm being creepy if I'm just being myself. And I think I'm not.
Right. Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. I'm not doing anything creepy, but I'm saying, why would I want to spend time with somebody that's underage? That's what I mean. Like, why would you want to be hanging out with a fucking, unless they was like it was like somebody was related to me, or I had like a familial like relationship with that I knew. There was a reason for me to want to,
Some people have a problem, and some people have a problem, and some people also are not necessarily mature people themselves, and so the type of person they seek to spend time with is young. Doesn't make it okay. Doesn't make it a thing that you are going to get to do. It may make you look like a creep if you're 32 and you're dating 18 and 19-year-olds. As legal as it technically is, it doesn't look great. Period. And especially if you start talking to them when they're 16 or 17. I mean, I remember seeing like when those celebrity pop culture websites came up. I remember like stopping reading one of them because it started doing countdown timers on like young celebrities who were turning 18, and it's like I don't. It's just not for me. It's not for me, and like the idea of grooming somebody sounds like a gross thing to me.
I don't know what year they turned 18, but I remember there was a countdown timer for the Olsen twins, and the only reason I know I was a broker when it happened because the countdown timer was up in the fucking office. Like there was like a computer that had it running all the time as like a joke. That's how disgusting where I worked was.
This is the grossness of men, by the way. This is because the reality is like, so these women come forward and then everybody wants them to like, then all the standards of whether anything they say is credible comes up, and the reality is like, the guy came out himself and apologized for what he admits was like shittiness at the bare minimum, right? Like a poor decision on whose attention to try and go after at the bare minimum.
So I didn't.
The other thing is he's not the only guy. There's definitely other dudes. I mean, come on. We're all
go ahead.
comics.
Go ahead. Shoot your shot, Bobby.
Comics.
You know who you want to shoot? Shoot him down.
Who?
Other guys, other celebrities that have been grooming girls.
Oh, Drake.
I mean,
yeah.
Sure, you can pull Drake into it. You can pull the black man's op.
Suck it,
Drake
Darrell.
is an op. Drake is an op. Drake is an op. Drake has been crowned the king of the light-skinned folks. We ain't crowned him that. That is a dark-skinned op. Y'all put him up there to try and make us look foolish. You put him on a pedestal, and you made everybody get into Drake. Light-skinned people, we don't stand like that, okay? We were happy to see a light-skinned brother doing good, but that don't mean that he's the king of shit, all right? But yeah, I mean, for me, the thing is, whoever's got to go has got to go. And, that's brought Joe Rogan into the spotlight a little bit because Dilly's got connection to him, and there's now, Joey Coco Diaz had some shit he just said on a podcast recently that's blown up.
Well, I think it was an old podcast.
What did he say?
He said something to the effect that he would force like little open micers to pay him to blow him to go on stage at the Comedy Store, and like,
oh shit,
specifically, like without referencing a name, talked about a specific person that he did this to, who then left and then wrote him a letter calling him a cocksucker and all this shit, like basically calling him out in a letter and not even like doing him the justice of just calling him out in a letter and not publicly, and he still is like laughing it off, which is not crazy for me to think about Joey Diaz saying stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
and
Joey's wild.
It's it's funny in the realm of it if it was never actually real.
Yeah, if it was a joke.
If it wasn't like if it wasn't what 10 million people were hearing and then thinking was a funny thing to then also do, right? Like,
Yeah.
and here's the thing. I used to listen to Rogan a lot. I'm going to be real honest. I used to listen to Rogan all the time. In fact, there was a period where I could have probably told you I'd listened to a certain number in a row that, like, had numbered in a high number. 3-hour conversations. I was on the bus a lot in Chicago. He brings on interesting guests.
Yeah.
He will repeatedly tell people that he is not a bright person. I'm not bright. I just remember things well. It's not my intelligence. And I used to use that a lot in defending him in the idea that, like, look, he's telling you he's not bright. He's just posing ideas. The problem is that's okay when it's 5 people in a room, and then you can all leave and be like, that guy is an idiot. Who cares? It's troublesome when there's 20 million people listening to it, and a quarter of those are, like, treating that man like he actually knows things that he doesn't, or that he's got a worldview that is something they should be emulating. When in reality, he's like, you gain listeners by pot stirring. Whether the benefit he has is in not having to take a position, because then he can say all the positions and then all the people can come and listen. And then it doesn't matter whether you get the right answer or not. Everybody gets fed, including the people who have ridiculous ideas. And that
he lets people come on his show. He lets people come on his show and say what the fuck they want to say,
and support,
without any. You know, he doesn't like. It's cool to not take. You don't have to be taking a position to check something that is something that you had. Like, hey, okay, that sounds like a pretty extraordinary claim. How do you prove? Can you prove that? Can you give us an example? Is there data to support that?
And dangerous at the same time, right?
It's like information that is peer-reviewed information.
Yeah, because there's certain conversations that get had. There are certain stances that get taken there where if someone goes, and trust me, I've seen Joe Rogan live. I've seen the guys that walk out of there. There are definitely dudes that are just like, that is my mindset now. What I just heard is what I think, and that is how I will behave, and because I heard it on here, and you know what I mean? Like, that person has a book out, and they were on this podcast with 20 million downloads, so obviously that person knows what they're talking about. And I think feeding that can be dangerous and can lead to trouble. So, I mean, it also,
Hey, Bobby, can you chill on that? We're trying to make some of those for us.
I know what you mean. In Chicago, locally, the local improv scene has been taking a big hit. IO Chicago has shut down. They were dealing with, I mean, both they and Second City have dealt with a lot of, this is the time, I mean, the cleansing has to come at some point if we're going to get better. And that means some people that have been able to do shit for a while have to get put on Front Street and confront some of these things, whether it's, a guy who's 31 hitting up 17-year-olds, or whether it's people that talk about being inclusive who only are run essentially by one group of people. And those things have hit both Second City and IO. IO is now shutting down. They just opened this new building up not too long ago. I got to be honest, I wasn't too tightly connected to either of these two places. I was really just like a bar, open mic / pro, semi-pro comic. And so, the idea of going to a school for comedy or doing that, I wasn't into improv at all, really, and so it was never my thing. But I've seen the response from Black people and Hispanic people in Chicago, and a lot of women in Chicago who are like, yeah, man, fuck those places.
The only connection I have to IO is season 3 of The Chi starts on Sunday, and I think I'm in episode 3. The audition that I got, I auditioned there to get that part, and I got it there, and I got a commercial that I auditioned for there too. Nice. So I have good vibes. I always get callbacks when I audition there. So nice. I'm sure that the company that ran their auditions out of there will find a new spot and keep calling me back. But I had good vibes there, so that's my only. I performed there a couple times. I performed there a couple times, but other than that, I never took classes or anything like that. I just was like the stand up at the beginning or at the end of some improv show. Yeah.
Well, who knows? Maybe somebody will take that place over and turn it into a place where opportunity is more equal and more driven towards diverse voices.
That'd be cool.
Maybe that'll happen.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. That'd be a cool thing to have happen.
Yeah.
There's
It'd be
somebody
dope
else.
if there was a club in the city that had multiple stand-up stages at the same time.
That'd
Kind of
be
like,
pretty cool.
kind of like
Yeah.
a better version of the Comedy
Multi-use,
Store or
or-
something like that. Like that'd be.
Yeah,
Somebody-
like the old Edge,
inclusive,
like the
somewhere where
shit,
you
like
have
the
to
shit
blow
that
somebody
launched
to
my
get on
ass,
stage.
the old Edge.
Maybe.
Remember the original Edge where we met each other at, James?
Oh yeah, I remember that place. That place is it's a decent model, you know. I also think maybe like this place could have not just one person in charge, maybe a committee representative of the population of comedy, stand-up comedy in Chicago, running everything,
that'd be
deciding things
great.
together. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be
something that
nice
was
to go
more
to
of
a
a-
club? Wouldn't it be nice to go to a comedy club and not worry about getting groped or called a slur or not given opportunities you've earned or any number of horrible things that happen in Hollywood and in older clubs around the country.
I would only want to be a part of like creating a place like that if that were the case, right?
Yeah.
I would want more voices than voices that were just like my own. I think that would be the only way that a place like that could be successful, honestly.
Yeah. That's
So it'd be great if that happened.
That would be cool.
Great
Yeah.
if something like that could
cool
happen.
if that would happen. Yeah.
In some other wild ass news, Matt Gaetz, who is a representative in the state of Florida, got into an argument with Cedric Richmond. They had an argument over trying to get some resolutions passed on some police reform bills. Cedric
Are
Richmond.
you assuming some of us don't have children of color?
Where did that shit come from, man? In an argument about police reform, Cedric Richmond said, "I care about black children right now. This is what's important." And Gaetz shot back something about, like, are you saying that you don't care about that you care about your kids more than anybody else? Are you saying you care more about my kids more than I care about my kids? Now, I want to be clear. Up until this point, the entire world as we know it are familiar with Matt Gaetz as an unmarried, never married bachelor, confirmed with no children to speak of, and at least one, if not two, DUI arrests. Okay?
I heard as many as 8, but go on.
Right. But
11.
2 for sure that we talk about. And then all of a sudden, yesterday, after this argument happened, he posted a picture of himself with his 19-year-old son, Nestor, who he...
From Cuba!
From Cuba, by the way, that he adopted from Cuba 7 years ago after the DUI
Legally.
arrest. Although there's not been any boys adopted from Cuba during that time period. Additionally, as recently as 3 years ago, he had been in a picture with Matt in which Matt referred to him as local student and not my son. This is literally the first time that this 19-year-old man... Now, we were just talking about Chris D'Elia and grooming. And I don't want to make any accusations about Matt Gaetz, but...
Oh, can I ask him a question?
The only straight single guy I know of who's ever taken in like a young teenage boy is Bruce Wayne. That's the only one. So unless Matt Gaetz is Batman...
He think he Batman. I just want to know, if that's your son, Mr. Gaetz, are you fucking your baby? I believe you are fucking your baby, Mr. Gaetz. You are fucking your baby.
Well, that's definitely a thing we should deal with, if that's the case.
By the way, I want to be clear about, let me be straight up. I am not trying to shame him for gay sex in any way.
Right.
I am shaming him for his positioning of this person as first as a student and now the son that he adopted 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
And this whole just pop out of nowhere where nobody knew this shit before. I'm making fun of that scenario.
Right.
Like,
not the gayness.
Yeah, if it was a 19-year-old girl, same joke.
It would be fine. I feel that it's shitty that if he is gay, he's probably hid that because he's trying to be this staunch conservative guy, and he probably thinks that would hurt his chances. I think that's a sad thing.
You think the people who are disappointed when after the Supreme Court allowed gay people to have fucking rights like regular people because they are regular people? I think
an anti-immigration, anti-sex trafficking representative probably shouldn't have a 12-year-old Cuban boy that he brings in and grows up in his house. It's probably not a thing that he
secretly.
Right. Last thing I want to do before we close out. There's been some questions that have come up over Beethoven being black. This is not a new thing, by the way. If you are black, this is a thing that's also been brought up to you before at some point in time.
Babe Ruth.
There are definitely descriptions of Beethoven with features that would be stereotypically chronicled as black features, if you wanted to call them that. I think some of the phrasing that they've used is, let's see, he was black and not white. But wide, thick-lipped mouth, short, thick nose, and proudly arched forehead. It sounds like Beethoven looked like me, is what that is. What it comes down to. No, but his mother was allegedly Moorish, and if you know about the Moors, that just means black. That just means black before slavery. That's just northern black people before slavery is all that is. That's who the Moors were. Essentially, that's pretty much what it was. They had asked Dr. Kira Thurman, who's a German history professor at University of Michigan. And what she responded to was great. She brought up a number of different, instead of trying to figure out whether Beethoven was black, she actually presented a number of great black musicians around that same time period. George Bridgetower.
One of whom,
yeah,
one of them that Beethoven wrote a piece for specifically.
Yeah, that was him. It was George Bridgetower. He was an Afro-Caribbean servant and a son of an Afro-Caribbean servant and a Polish mother. But a violinist. He created a piece of music that's so hard people don't even play it, among the number of other people like Maud Cuny and a number of others who were out there at that same time. So Beethoven may have been black, but we got a bunch of other dope black people we could be talking about in the meantime along the way, which I think is a nice way to kind of wrap up Juneteenth. Learn about your history, learn about your people. White people, if you want to help, go to your local community meetings, and if there's not a lot of black people there, ask why not, and work to get some people of color in there. Hey man, where can they find you? Where
black and Polish would make really strong, hard-working babies.
Well, there's the clip for the show. X, where can they find you?
Nowhere after that. I'm hiding. I'm shutting everything
Shut
down.
You down. I'm gonna turn it all off again.
I'm canceling my damn self. I won't give you motherfuckers the pleasure. At XL Comedy on Twitter, XL Comedy Show on IG, at XL Comedy on Facebook, or Xavier Lamont.
Nice. You can catch me at Mocha_Jesus on Twitter and Instagram. You know, if you can find me under Bobby Hill on Facebook, get me there. You can find New OGs at New OGs Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure to follow us there. If you get to us on Facebook, you can actually watch us live here every Friday. Make sure you follow People of Comedy's YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook pages. You can get live stuff, live rallies, live protests, and other live podcasts. Thank you for joining us. We are out of here.